Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of MTG Arena. So we are testing out a deck that I'm not particularly in love with, a modified white deck that honestly the strategy itself with the cards I have just doesn't work. That's what it just kind of boils down to, is it just does not work. We've got cards in it like this that aren't good. I've never been able to get this to work. So let's get rid of those. And then that one we played a couple times, but it's probably not the smartest move either. So let's get rid of those. And let's get rid of that. And let's see. This is the only thing that slightly would make sense because it's such a late game card anyways. And this kind of doesn't make sense either. So then that leaves me with 10 cards, and I don't think I can even really add anything that I already have because I already have everything. So what we want to do is a buff like this probably is not a bad idea. So put 2 of those in there. Cast more than 1 non-creature spell per turn. I wouldn't be casting any spells, so I don't know. Like, this might slow down the opponent and irritate him, but I don't think it really would do much other than that. So I don't think that's a particularly good strategy. Can't attack or block alone. Number of creatures you control. Let's see. So +2/+2. This is probably not a bad idea because that still synergizes gaining life and giving +2/+2. So we need 6 more cards. Whenever you gain a life, you may draw a card, and you can create a creature. Like, my deck doesn't really have an enchantment, so I'm gonna put that back in the deck. I had already taken that out. See, destroying cards that are black or red is not useful, but destroying an enchantment or artifact is useful. I definitely needed that. Double strike's not going to be super useful. What else? Pacifism we're going to put back in 4 pacifisms, and with that alone I think that solves our deck. There's probably more strategy that could be played here, but I'm spending way too much time trying to get this deck to be something that I even slightly like, that I'm having trouble finishing the news. And I made a mistake in the last recording thinking that I was really close to finishing the news, and actually I wasn't anywhere close to finishing the news. I just had a temporary oversight there. So let's get into the news. Tegraph has an article here. NBA 2K20 now features unskippable advertisements, which I feel like a previous NBA game already had that, or a previous EA game. So you really are in this weird position where you sort of are hyped for a few of the older EA games to come to Steam, but when you look at the actual existence of modern EA games, there's there's no reason why you should buy those games or support them as a company. Unfortunately, it is really just crabs pulling each other down when it comes to video game companies. They've all done something shady. They've all done something that deserves boycotts. Honestly, it makes a good argument for just pirating games and going back to the bad old days of doing that, because honestly, it's hard to justify giving money to good money to bad people. That's the problem that many first world countries suffer from right now, is that we, over the past hundreds of years, have been tricked or allowed ourselves to be in a situation where we're giving money to bad people, and the bad people are getting more money, and thus becoming more and more powerful to then just take more advantage of people. Moving on, Gamasutra has an article. Profits are up at Capcom thanks to strong Monster Hunter World Iceborne sales. Which, yeah, the Monster Hunter series in general has been very successful and seems to continue to be very successful. Gamasutra has an advertisement here for GDC 2020, but it sounds slightly interesting as far as a presentation. Learn about the state and art of Japanese game preservation at GDC 2020. There's probably a very large amount of variety and number of arcade games specifically made only for Japan. So I could totally see that being a difficult thing to accomplish, and also a thing that you're unlikely to have a lot of people deal with. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's less than 300 people even trying to preserve old arcade games in Japan. So each person in that effort is probably doing a lot more work than, say, the video game preservation efforts in the United States, where there's a lot more individual collectors out there and people trying to preserve things. Alright. I don't know if that was a rage quit because of how I played, or if that was just a rage quit in general, but my deck does feel like it is a little bit better. Gamasutra has an article here. EA Access is heading to Steam after the US publisher reconnects with Valve. So the new partnership kicks off with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Other titles like Apex Legends, FIFA 20, Battlefield 5, Unravel 2, and The Sims 4 will be made available in the coming months. None of those games particularly interest me, although Jedi Fallen Order probably is a game I should own and try. But everything else is kind of nothing. What I want is Alice Madness Returns and American McGee's Alice, the original game. I want Mirror's Edge Cataclysm. I want probably a long list of other older EA games. Let's see. We actually have a little bit of extra time, unless I'm making the same mistake again. So I'm just gonna type into Google the phrase list of EA games. And go to the Wikipedia article of list of Electronic Arts games. And scroll down here and see. Developed and published are in green, only developed by EA are in pink, and only published by EA are in a blue. So 007 games are the first things they created in 2000. Those are not likely to still have the license, so they wouldn't come. 2002 FIFA World Cup, unlikely that those games, the older FIFA games, would come out, but be interesting if they did, I suppose. This and then this. And let's see. It's nice to have options. Give a character flying until the end of the turn. It's a sorcery though, it's not an instant, so if something was going to block me like that, I couldn't have done that at that point. So I had no idea that that had a chance of happening. Adventure Pinball. So Alice Madness returns. These are in alphabetical. Alien vs. Predator Extinction, Alone in the Dark 2, American McGee's Alice, Amnesia. Again, some of these may just have been published. Apex Legends, Archon. Let's see, there's a lot just starting with A. The Bard's Tale, 1, 2, 3. Batman Begins. Battle Chess, Chinese Chess. Some of these clearly are on Steam. I know they are because they're on my wish list. Battlefield games. If there was a large Battlefield collection that might appeal to somebody, I don't know if that appeals particularly to me though. Beatles Rock Band games, Bejeweled games, all of these are on Steam. Yeah, for the games that might actually come back, like Bionicle games that were for the Game Boy Advance, are not likely. The Black and White series, a lot of these I think are on Steam. Brittle Legend, I think is on Steam. Buffy the Vampire Slayer from 2002. Bulletstorm. That's on Steam. Man, yeah, there might really just be a case that EA only stopped selling games on Steam for 4 or 5 years, and in that 4 or 5 years they barely created anything of any interest. The Command and Conquer series, like that's, some of that is on Steam, but not all of it, and they're making remasters, so I could see why they would want to return to Steam for that. Cricket series, Crisis, I think all of Crisis is on Steam. Dante's Inferno is a game I'd love to play on PC, but a lot of these are also not Windows games, so you'd have to either remake or put them on a you'd either have to remake them or port them, and either one of those probably not that good. Dead Space 1 and 2 are on Steam, but Dead Space 3 and This Not was also Dead Space Ignition and Extraction, the side games, never came to PC. Def Jam, no. Diablo for PlayStation. Right. Place this. and then give this one target creature gets flying. There. And then place that on the field. Right, so next. And I think we're fine to attack there. Disney games, Dragon Age games. I think most of the Dragon Age games are on Steam. Dungeon Keeper, yeah, if you could get Dungeon Keeper 1 and 2 on Steam, that'd be cool, but not Dungeon Keeper Mobile or let's see, there's also Dungeon Keeper Gold and Dungeon Keeper the Deeper Dungeon, so whichever version of that would be the best. Best versions of those. Yeah, most of this is garbage. F1 games, FIFA games, just a long list of FIFA games. At one time EA was making good games, or arguably EA maybe acquired the companies that were making good games. Or merged into it. There's a G.I. Joe game they probably wouldn't have, and a Godfather game they probably wouldn't be able to bring over. I really should just look at what the list of games on EA's Origin service is, because that's probably the best you'd ever get. Okay, who can fly that can block? I don't think anything can, so we'll just look at it directly. Harry Potter games. Yeah, if you could get some of these Harry Potter games on Steam, they might sell well. Yeah, really nothing here. Madden football. Wow. Lord of the Rings games. Maybe they could get the license on some of those still. Even more Madden games. Yeah, the list is just full of Madden games. Magic Carpet games. If you wanted to remake the Magic Carpet series, I wouldn't be upset with that. Although, I'm not sure it would sell particularly well in its current. You'd have to think about adding a whole bunch of gameplay mechanics. Marvel Madness, same thing, like modern game. Mass Effect on Steam, I think some but not all of the Mass Effect games are on Steam. Although that would be a hard sell anyways. Mirror's Edge Catalyst is the one game I've seen so far that I actually would want to play. Monopoly. There's a couple of Monopoly games. If any of those were good, that would be fine. Mutant League Football might attract a few people. NASCAR games. None of the old NASCAR games or the NBA Jam games. Like, a lot of these annualized games have no value in being resold. Need for Speed games maybe have some value if you can pick the right Need for Speed game to play, which is a big if. NFL, NHL games are just all about the sports. I forgot how much EA was just all about the sports. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's see. Z to undo that, and then this and this. Right. Take heart. +2/+2 to the end of the turn. That's kind of all I can do. Oddworld games, one of them. Peggle games, PGA games, Plants vs. Zombies. Alright, if you got all the Plants vs. Zombie games and you got rid of a lot of microtransactions in like Garden Warfare and Battle for Neighborville, maybe then I would buy that collection. Populous games, Marty to the R's, Risk, a few Risk games, maybe I would, if any of those were good. None of the Rock Band games are going to come back. The rugby games are not going to come back. Let's see. Can we do anything that we want to do here? Not really. Just let them do. There's a Scrabble game. I don't know how I'd cover the Scrabble game. There's a Sesame Street from 1996 that wouldn't come back. Shaq Fu 1. Sid Meier's games, SimCity games. What's this guy gonna block? Is there anything he can block with? Let's see. There's a couple Simpsons games that I imagine you could still get the license to release. This is such an incredibly long list of EA games. Skate, Skate 2, Sin episodes. Each of those have some small amount of historical relevancy, but also are terrible games. SSX series of games. Star Wars Battlefront. Like, I think most of the Star Wars games are already on Steam. Superman games. Syndicate games. There's a Tetris game, Theme Hospital, Texas Hold'em. Tiger Woods games. I don't think you can bring back Tiger Woods games. I don't think they'd sell well. Is there anything we need to block here? Nope. Trivial Pursuit games. Ultimate Online games, maybe they would sell. Unraveled 1, Unraveled 2. Alright, I'd want to play those. So there's about 3 games so far in this long list. We Love Katamari. Maybe. Let's see. Auto pay for that. And then create a 1/1 white creature with lifelink, which is better than creating a 1/1 white human. Wing Commander games. Yahtzee games. Yeah. So that's an incredibly short list of games I actually would want to play. Do I have anything that has death touch? Because that's what he's gonna do, is he's gonna just defend with the death touch and kill. So just gonna attack with one attacker, and that's it. So what's coming up as far as is according to Wikipedia is from EA. Dragon Age The Dread Wolf Rises, to be announced. Lost in Random, to be announced. Need for Speed Heat, coming out in 2019. Rush Heart, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Star Wars Rise to Power, to be announced for the Android, and an untitled Hazelight Studios game, to be announced. And then there's a long list of canceled games. It's not a super long list, actually. Command and Conquer, apparently a remake of that was canceled from the looks of it. Death Touch. Guess what? Go ahead and stop that. And let's go ahead and stop that too. This. And this. And then create another character. Actually, I should have attacked with this, but I didn't. Alright, well, that went my strategy. I think he's gonna be able to just overwhelm me. So yeah, that's a really long list of EA games, and none of them are of any interest at all. So really the hype around EA coming to Steam is really just kind of like a hollow talking point to say, yeah, Steam is great, Steam is great. They finally learned their lesson and returned to Steam, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess that's true. They learned their lesson and they returned to Steam, but wait a minute, actually, yeah, this has Death Touch, so that is the right move. And this guy is indestructible, apparently. Fuck. But yeah. Okay, here we go. Let's see. +1/+1, target creature I control. Okay. And while we're at it, let's do this also. And I could have probably used this ability, but if I didn't have that card, I would have just lost. He would have worn me down eventually. getting cards. And you still are getting 25 Master XP until like the 10th win. So it's weird, they really do want you to play like 10 wins every day, which is crazy. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article here, Wanderer the Cult of Barnacle Bay review, which I haven't heard of this game. It looks like it's a card game. Is it a real world card game or? Yes it is. It's a real world tabletop game. No wonder I haven't heard anything about it. So, okay. Moving forward. This is not a good starting hand. This, I guess, is a fine starting hand. So that won the game for me, so I'll get rid of that instead. I'm still getting tricked every now and then by TechRaptor. In fact, TechRaptor still is doing their parody post every now and then. Like they put out a parody post saying that security has been tightened up at the security has been tightened up for BlizzCon, and while that probably is true, if there was no truth or evidence in that article, it was just a joke article. The people, at least some of the people, reportedly that plan on protesting Activision Blizzard at BlizzCon still seem to be planning on boycotting Activision Blizzard. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. I don't know where the state of the QA is. Last I heard, the QA had been kind of sneakily gotten rid of because you have to pre-write all of your questions in the box, and then they're just going to pick the questions they want to answer and respond to them, I think, after BlizzCon on some website or something. Let's see. Whenever you gain life, you can do this thing. I hate the color selector animation. I would totally change that. It needs to look like this. Like, yeah, the color selection should be this, where it pops up just like the Magic the Gathering symbol, and then if you hover over it, it'll say white, green, red, black, blue. But just having a top-down list is a pain. And yeah, I think you could easily make a mobile version of this game. The right side often is empty, so you could make a drawer that hides this section if no planeswalkers are being played, and hides this section if there's no planeswalkers that have been played. I think you could do that pretty easily. You could emphasize more just the central field and put the land as just a number of lands in a drawer up here, and there's very rarely do you have an emblem in the draw deck and the discard deck and the exile deck. All that stuff can kind of be where it is. Just so if you got rid of this by a side drawer over here, if you got rid of this by a lower drawer over here, you could easily zoom in the camera to just focus on these and the hand. So it's not as difficult as they seem to be making it out. Alright. I need a black mana to bring that guy back onto the field, unfortunately. Gamasutra has an article here. Steam is nudging players to update early reviews after they played more. I think particularly getting people who had reviewed the game when it was in an early access period and then nudging them to review the game if they've played it after that early access period would be an ideal situation. Right. This has death touch, so I don't want to block. I'm about to lose. Right. Do this. Play that on him. Put that on the field. What would I need to do? We need 2 non-color and a white color to restore 5 health. Gamasutra has an article here. Faceit and Google designed admin AI bans 20,000 toxic Counter-Strike Go players in 6 weeks. I don't know. I hate using the phrase toxic. Did it ban people that were cheating? Did it ban people that were typing in the chat specific words? Was it did it ban spammers? See, the idea of an AI controlling this and just nobody having overlook over it sounds, or oversight over the program sounds really bad. Like, it sounds exactly what YouTube tries to do, and we all know how well YouTube succeeds at accomplishing that stuff. Alright, so both attacked, which is good. Means do I want to draw a card? Need 3 mana. If I pay 2 mana, I'm gonna decline. And instead put it into the graveyard, onto the battlefield. Then I'll attack. Still not there. We need a little bit more. A little bit more on the field. And we'll be 1 short. Okay. Player draws. And I can't activate. I don't have enough. So auto pay. Okay. This doesn't have death touch, so we can do all attacks, but we lose. Like, he defends with one of these guys, and I lose unless I defend with one of these guys and kill somebody, in which I lose. And I think I lose either way.
Lord of Innistrad. What a mess I've made.
So, choose blockers. I block with this, and I die. I block with this, and I die. I block with this, and I die. So, yeah. The good news is I'm not hating my deck, though. Like, I've had 5 or 6 victories in a row playing just casual, and or at least 3 or 4 victories in a row, and the changes I've made most recently, 3rd time's a charm, I suppose, don't seem terrible. Seems like we can at least challenge this. Alright. I can keep this because I can play this one first, because I'm never going to have 3 other planes on the field. It's not likely. And then when I put this on the field, then it goes as a full on the field card. We're ready to go. Gamma Sutra has this article, I think we talked about this. PlayStation Vue is shutting down in 2020. So, yeah, good to hear. In fact, a lot of these articles might just be redundant articles, and we do have a long line of games that I have left over, I think, from Monday. Still getting XP and cards for that quick victory. That's nice. Gamma Sutra has an article here. Valve disables container key sales and trades in Counter-Strike Go due to rampant fraud, which honestly, them saying due to rampant fraud is pretty much admitting that they knew that there was rampant fraud the whole time, or for a very long time. The idea, if it ever came to a lawsuit, that they try to make the argument that they just found out that there was rampant fraud, instead of the idea that they knew it was happening for 5-10 years. Apparently it's the 10th anniversary of Bayonetta, so the artist in Japanese has tweeted out a new Bayonetta image, if that interests you. This was retweeted by Platinum Games. That's about the only way I could suggest you being able to find the picture if you're interested. It looks fine, nothing amazingly special. I'd argue there's just a lot of characters here in the background for a Bayonetta game, when honestly it should just be one pin-up image of Bayonetta. That she's like the only character I care about in the Bayonetta series. Maybe you could do a wink and a nod to some of the other characters in the background, like Jean in the background, but I really don't think you could do too much other than that. Well, enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more other planes. So I have 2 planes right now. So if I could draw another plane before I need to play this land, that'd be interesting. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has an article, get a job. Portal 1 is hiring a game producer. This is in Oslo, Norway. I have no clue what Portal 1 actually makes. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just mobile games. Okay. So, I can play this. And I can put this on the field. And that's all I can really do. Gamma Sutra has an article here. EA to double down on live services as FIFA and The Sims help outperform goals. So, yeah, EA is coming back to Steam. Who cares? Like, if you really go through the list of all the EA games, when you know they're just going to double down on live services, when you know that every game, including the Star Wars game in most recent time, has been just totally not what you want. This sucks. Throw that away, and then throw that away, I guess. That's all I can really do. I don't think you want to discard mana. Although, in all fairness, I'm not sure what having all this mana really is going to do for me. The Epic Games Store tweeted out, let's see, not that, not that, not that. What was it that they tweeted out? Yeah, here it is, October 29th. We've launched the first iteration of our new storefront experience on the Epic Games Store. Check it out and tell us what you think. So they've made a slight tweak to the storefront, whereas I imagine there's going to be a lot of people saying, why not more? Like, even if it really was a major improvement, the question, why haven't you made more progress, I think is a pretty valid question for the Epic Games Store, because they really had a lot of time to make and work on the Epic Store. They had at least a year before they even announced that they were going to have anything on the storefront other than their own products. Darn it, all that setup and all that work, and one card just ruins it. Alright, I could attack, but I don't think that would help any. I could attack with this and it would help a little, but not a lot. Let's see, Gamatsu has an article here for the PS4. Onichambra Origins D3P webshop purchase bonus trailer. So Onichambra Origins going with a slightly different animation style, and apparently a hug pillow is part of the trailer, so I'm gonna watch this over here in case it's not YouTube family friendly. Yeah, Onichambra Origins looks to me like it is going for a different kind of art style. The characters are younger, they may be different characters. Onichambra is the anime girls, but from a previous generation of anime style. So it's kind of like 90s anime style, anime ninja girls fighting zombies, and in skirts, and that's pretty much all it is. It's like a Warriors game, button masher, for lack of a better description. And that's exactly what I'm seeing in the trailer mostly here. We can show this off actually. There's this samurai ninja girl just doing a bunch of attacks against the zombies, and the number of zombies seem to be increased, and there's a giant baby demon. The number of zombies on screen seem to be increased. If you buy it at the D3P web shop, you get the hugging pillow, which acts as a sheath for her sword, I guess. This seems to be sort of a new thing they're doing with Japanese games, is that they're giving exclusives that are of actual mention to digital web stores, which would make it almost impossible to get all the different skins and in-game content unless you just bought the game a dozen different times on different, mostly Japanese-centric web stores. So what is this? Alright. This is that one. So that created 3 characters, which then gave me a whole bunch of upgrades. And the upgrades then powered my guy up. And so he's saying like, oops. And I'm like, yeah, that was an oops on your part. So at this point, that should have been my 10th win. Nope. The next win is the 10th win. And for the 9th win, you still get XP. But I think after the 10th win, that's when you stop getting XP. But you still get gold. And you still potentially get other things. So, man, I really need an intern to just play Magic the Gathering every day. And whether you're playing to get a daily quest done or whether you're not, doesn't really matter, because you're still succeeding perfectly fine, as long as you're getting something, as long as you're getting victories. And Magic isn't set up in such a way that you're going to lose a lot, where Hearthstone, often it did feel like you're just losing for hours and hours and hours, and I don't get that feeling here. Let's see, moving on, Gamatsu has an article for the PS4. 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim demo is now available in Japan. I think this is a mech game with maybe a little bit of visual novel and a kind of unique art style, as you could probably guess. Let's see. Infinity Ward Call of Duty is going on. Call of Duty is under its own issues, certainly. They told a fake story, and in the fake story there was a war crime committed by a fake Russia equivalent country, but the war crime is named the same name as an actual war crime, or close to a war crime, that the United States did. And so it's in a weird position where I think fairly the game is being accused of pushing a anti-true narrative, yellow journalist type narrative, whitewashing propaganda narrative, which I guess is inherently always a problem with doing modern war games, is that you are walking through a landmine field of potential drama by referencing real world events, or making events that even look slightly real world. And this is, I think, completely separate from the white phosphorus controversy, or the controversy where potentially it seems like you might be able to shoot people that aren't terrorists because you mistake them for terrorists, or something along that lines. As far as I'm concerned, it really doesn't matter to me because I was never going to play Modern Warfare anyways. I don't think many people are really going to play Modern Warfare specifically for the single player experience. They're just looking for the multiplayer experience. And arguably, it's a hard guess. Should you break the boycott and play Borderlands 3 instead? I personally would. If it came down to playing, I have to play Modern Warfare or I have to play Borderlands 3, I'd pick Borderlands 3 at any point. So this guy didn't play at all. So there's another victory. The one thing I could be doing is I could be playing red or green instead. So at the 10th win, now going on the 11th, that's when you stop getting XP. So if you are trying to get your levels up to the maximum, that's when you would want to do it. Yeah, and we've been playing with the white deck just fine. So instead I'm going to play with this deck and get the daily quest done. And we just need to get through all the news, and then that'll be the end of the stream. Gamasutra has an article. Revenue at Rovio is up, though high user acquisition costs are impacting the operating profit. So in other words, they're spending a lot of money to get people to play their new games, even though when they do play their new games, or their games in general, they tend to make some money off of it. See, TechRaptor has an article. Riot announces a League of Legends virtual band called True Damage, which sounds ridiculous. In collaboration with Louis Vuitton on unique skins. Okay. So, League of Legends is definitely going on a big push, and at this point it seems like they were planning to do a big push before things like Activision Blizzard had happened, the drama with Activision Blizzard happened. Okay, well, the best card to play then would be this. So yeah, they announced a bunch of stuff, and they're pushing a bunch of stuff. Probably too much stuff, specifically around a spin-off of League of Legends. So right gives you +1/+1 or haste. I'll take +1/+1. TechRaptor has an article here. Red Dead Redemption 2 Halloween event features spooky showdowns. I'm surprised there are any Halloween events at all for Red Dead Redemption 2. I guess this is the online content, the live service type stuff. Otherwise, you would expect that there's basically nothing there. Alright, well, this guy just has trample and a counter, so why would I not block? With perhaps the exception that maybe he's got a spell. Yeah, of course he's got a spell. That was dumb of me. I've got to learn the moves more. So what does this guy do? Rubber Bell Runner can't be blocked by creature tokens. Well, I don't think that would really do anything for me. Are you gonna... One's bitten. Let's see if he has another spell. Let's see. Gamatsu has an article for the PS4. PlayStation Plus free games for November announced. So that'll be Neo and Outlast 2. If you're interested, that's an easy article to mention. So I probably should mention that every time there's an opportunity. Right, trample. Right. What does this one do? Destroys artifacts and enchantments. Of which I don't know if I have any. Trample. This already has trample. Who do I want it to fight? This. And this. So do I want to attack now because he could kill me? No. Let's see, OpenCritic has an article here. EA has canceled NBA Live 20, marking the 5th time since 2010s. The game has not had a sequel. Which is weird. So NBA Elite 11, NBA Live 13, NBA Live 17 also have been canceled. It kind of makes sense though. You don't really need an annualized NBA game, particularly since they're not really doing anything. Let's see. Four plus 2 and trample. Is this an instant? Right, next. Let's just see how this works. Next. I'm just sitting here because you have to kind of work your way into this and go next, see if they're gonna block. If they're gonna block, I need to cast a spell. If they're not gonna block, I can just pass. There you go. And I'll be fine to pass. Going forward, TechRaptor has an article, Dead by Daylight Nightmare Edition is coming in December. 3 chapters are included. I think Dead by Daylight has had its time in the sun. I would have a hard time believing that somebody would want to get kind of a complete edition of Dead by Daylight now and try and play it when I imagine the player base is probably either full of a bunch of experts or dwindled down into a very small amount. Control 4 more creatures, add 2 mana instead. So that one could give me mana to play something like this. Do this. Do this. Have any creatures with Could do this, I guess. Next. And then attack. I suppose. This song that Magic the Gathering plays is too repetitive. They need to put another song in there and turn this audio down. It plays a little too often. It's getting a little too recognizable. There we go. TechRaptor has an article here. Epic Games lawyers up against a fake Fortnite merchandiser, seeking $2 million for each illegal use. That seems like that's not what they're actually going to get at the end of the day. But yeah, another lawsuit against. In this case, I can't really blame them for suing somebody making merchandise and violating their copyright and trademarks. Come on. Resolve. That gives you food tokens? Feasting Troll King. Okay. It gives you feasting. Food tokens. I still don't have enough. I could next turn play this. No, I couldn't, because I'd need 3 of those, and then I would need maybe. I don't know. It's questionable. I think what I'm gonna do is just wait and not attack this turn. I think he probably thinks he's lost, and maybe he's right about that. Can't be blocked by more than one creature, so this guy should attack. And if it does damage, it should be able to destroy a artifact or enchantment. So attack there. Alright. So is he gonna block me? TechRaptor has the same article. Capcom profits grow with Iceborne sales. Right. He's just gonna let me attack. So then I can just destroy his food. Gamasutra has a blog here called Permadeath as a Game Mechanic in a Survival Horror, the Song of Horror case. If you're interested in reading that, if you're a game developer. So you have to be careful because I want to defend. Means so this has 8 in trample, so if this defends against this and this defends against that, watch this. This should win the game for me. He's got no cards. The only thing he could do is spend mana. didn't. So trample doesn't work when you're defended? Creature spells can't be countered. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and attack and just see what happens. You played better than I did. Microsoft has this blog or article. Minecraft is now more autism friendly with accessible features built by garage interns. I'm not sure what the accessibility features in particular you can add to make things more autism friendly. Making the fonts bigger. I don't know why that's specifically autism friendly, or the font a different color. Like, autism has become such a wide spectrum under the new Diagnostics and Statistics manual, the DSM, that one treatment for one person with autism might be completely inappropriate for a treatment for another person with autism. It's not like blindness where you just have you can't see, or you can see, or you can see but only by a minimal amount. That's a lot more complicated. Like, moving on, TechRaptor has an article. The Lovecraftian Adventure Transient arrives in 2020. Another Lovecraftian game. That was one of the games that reminds me that I took off was Mad Mind's original game Agony. I took that off the wish list. There's no way I'd ever play that and be able to stream it, and it wasn't good anyways. And Succubus, the sequel to Agony, looks like it is so playing for drama that it's like when you're actively having a player in many instances crush babies under their heel, you know the game is doing a postal drama style game that I don't really have any interest in covering. That again, something that wouldn't be YouTube friendly. Now the game Lust for Darkness, I still will keep that on the the wish list, because yeah, that is actually a game I'd like to play. I probably couldn't ever show it because it would be way too censored. But in the game Super Kinky, I took that off because that one was half troll game, half adult game. And going forward, I think there's a chance that I will what is this ability? Yeah, going forward, I think that there's a higher chance that these kind of Western 3D adult games will not make it to the wish list, because yeah, there's not a good reason for it. I don't mind a sequence that's adult, but when the entire game is around that concept, it usually means it doesn't have that good of a story. Discard the card, draw a card. +2/+2, and then fights a creature you don't control. Alright, let's try this. That's a great time to do that. Destroy this creature and do 4 damage. I say all of that because this game Transient with this Lovecraftian demon art style looks a lot like Lust for Darkness. Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article, Sony financials, PS4 hardware and software sales lower than expected. Yeah, doesn't seem like the PS4 is in a great position, but in all fairness, I think the same was said for Microsoft too, that their hardware sales were staying average and not growing, and their software sales were not really growing either. So both the PlayStation, the Xbox One, and the PlayStation 4 are old consoles at this point, and they need a new generation to update the hardware. They also need a new generation of software, and perhaps even in the last 2 generations of launches, they've really failed to have good launch lineups. Like there used to be. There used to be really, really good launch lineups where you had at least a dozen triplet games coming out by Christmas. By the time a family, a parent would be purchasing a video game system. Let's see. TechRaptor has an article. Humble Bundle celebrates Day of Devs with games and tickets. So Flipping Death, Battle Chef Brigade, I already have that. Minute, I already have that. Toe Jam and Earl Back in the Grove. I'll have to look at the Humble Bundle and see how it's tiered, but it seems like if I was going to buy that bundle, which I probably am not, since I'm going to buy the Idea Factory bundle instead, I'd probably just get the lowest tier $1 amounts to donate. TechRaptor has an article here. Ninja Theory announces the Insight project for mental health support. Interesting, Ninja Theory is doing that because I guess I'm confused. Yeah, Ninja Theory made Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, but didn't they also make like a bunch of just ninja games before that? I guess they're just going in a different direction. Now, the real problem I would say with this is Ninja Theory really doesn't have time or resources to split its focus right now. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice succeeded, but it was a very pretty indie game that didn't have much gameplay in it. The next game that they make has to be as good looking as Senua's Sacrifice and more of a video game than Senua's Sacrifice is. And so they really should have their nose to the grindstone just making sure that happens. Of course, a lot of these mental health project support things are done by people in the human resources department or managers at the top that don't really do any work anyways. So no real talent might be actually going to get pulled away from that. I've certainly worked for some big companies that had major projects and things they've announced, and it's just from an internal perspective, it seemed so ridiculous that that would even be a focus when the companies that I worked for had so many other things they should be working on or focusing on. And like any charity that's in part or in total, I should have played this first, run by a company, any donations or support they're doing is really just so that they can get write-offs on their taxes. look here before I mention this next game. Let's see. Play here. Yes. +1 plus the one counter. Tech Raptor, who has an affiliate agreement with Nutaku, is talking about a new game called Lustful Shores, bringing titillating tower defense to the game. Which, frankly, if you're going to play a boring free-to-play game that's a tower defense game, that would be the one thing that would catch my attention, is if you had some anime girls or girls of some sort to look at. Doesn't seem like there's too much here. If it's free to play, it might not have any microtransactions. I don't even know how you would have microtransactions in something like this when it's giving you the numbers here and you have 20 plus combat maps, 20 defense towers, 45 enemies, bosses, and 10 powerful spells. Of course, Nutaku's main business is just to get you to their storefront. That's their main focus. I may have been better off giving this one haste. That way, when this one attacks, I could make that one not block, but whatever. We'll just risk it. I want to discard a card and draw a card. Yeah, let's discard and draw a card. So we can get more land. See, next we have a game on Steam here called A Rose in the Twilight, which looks a lot like The Blind Prince and The Liar. So I don't know if this is a sequel to that or they changed the name of it. So this is one of those horrific style games that looks like it's sort of a platformer adventure game. No, this is a different game. Just a very similar animation style. I think maybe The Blind Prince and The Liar is actually made by the same NIS software, so that might not be super surprising. Alright, play this. And who's this gonna fight? If I had had that on the field, I could have given that a 1-1. That would have been probably better. Alright, so do I want to discard a card? Sure. So A Rose in the Twilight is rated very positively right now. It's already on my wish list. It's $4.99. It came out in 2017, so I don't know what's going on here. It's on sale. Maybe I got a tweet that said it was on sale. That might have been it. Otherwise, maybe it's just with the Halloween sale, the Steam storefront and all their back-end services, I do feel like they are kind of all over the place. So, this card's ability we should be fairly well suited to use this ability next turn. Why would I tap that and attack with 0? That's dumb. That was a dumb move. TechRaptor has an article here, an interview. Retro Resurrection, a talk with retro developers. Having just tried to play Shovel Knight and found it uninteresting. I have really no interest in retro developers. If they could make a good Punch-Out, but even if they were going to make a good Punch-Out, which is one of my favorite games, I wouldn't want it to be a retro-looking game. I'd want it to be something more. Alright, now. Target land you control becomes a 4/4 elemental with haste until in the turn it's still a land. Alright, fine. And then auto pay. And then put this on the field as a 4/4 with haste. Deals 3 damage to target creature and scries. Okay. Full attack. And then that stops that one from attacking. There we go. We're going long in this recording. We've got a game on Steam that I believe this game is one of the games that once again is just full-on nudity in the screenshots, which I go back and forth on this. I imagine I did at some point say I'm an adult and I'm willing to look at these screenshots, but Hinta Quilm, Quilm, is on Steam. Full nudity. It's a slide puzzle game with probably about 10 pictures. It's 59 cents discounted and says it has full audio for every single language it supports, which is about 28. And it has a bunch of achievements that are letters and numbers to spell something out. Yeah, definitely still not a game you should buy, but yeah, weird to say the least. Right, so do this, and then we bring up a 4/4, and then auto pay. Alright, and then we gotta attack with this and this, and if he blocks with that and destroys the land, that's fine, but this still does 2 damage. So, and if he doesn't block, he knows where this is going, so I guess he's just gonna give up. Alright. So I think that was gonna be that's the last game we're gonna play. We got the daily quest done. I would really just have to play 2-3 more victories if I wanted to get all the daily quests done. Next, there's a game again I can't show you on Steam. This mixed reviews called Gals Panic. It's one of those games where you draw a block around an area and it reveals a part of the image of an anime girl. Again, the screenshots are anime girls in lewd positions and lewd dress. No full nudity this time. The price is surprisingly different. It's discounted to $4.79, and in this case it only supports English and Chinese. But it kind of does go to point out that there are at least a couple of these adult games still being allowed on Steam for a brief time, but it seems like then other people get rejected before they even make it to Steam. So it seems like the people that are trying to do it legitimately and have an open dialogue with Steam get rejected sometimes, and then the people that just try to sneak the game onto Steam succeed. So obviously the way to deal with Steam, and it sucks when you have such a inconsistent, unhelpful partner in the form of Valve as a publisher and a platform, that it's better just to sneak around and pull shenanigans and not tell them what's going on, instead of just having an adult conversation and having a back-to-back. But unfortunately, there's a lot of childish people that seem to be in charge of what gets allowed on Steam and what doesn't, and they seem to be curating based on their SJW mentality more than on any quality or actual demand. Next game we have on Steam is You Only Lives Twice, which looks like a low effort top down twin stick shooter. It's $4.99 in a bunch of languages, so nothing there. Next we have a game tagged sexual content and nudity. Can I show it off? Yeah, I think this is pretty much YouTube family friendly. It's called Our World Is Not Decayed. It says it's an RPG. It looks like it's probably more of a visual novel. You have a anime girl in a outfit that's practically see-through. $1.19 discounted, English and Chinese, full Chinese, so probably not going to see a lot on the Chinese games anyways. Not a lot of quality nor a lot of nudity, so I would stick to the Korean and the Japanese games if you're looking for the adult lewd stuff. Next we have a game on Steam called Stigmatized Property, which looks like it's a dark screenshots horror game that with a low effort menu to say the least, and the trailer shows nothing but the menu. So this is $2.09 and Japanese full audio, but I would still say this is not something I would want to buy. And I guess I could probably leave the last 5 games, but there's really no reason not to just get through them all. So we have a game on Steam called Olamdale, which looks like it's a puzzle game. Kind of an isometric puzzle playing maybe block pushing game. Okay. Yeah. An isometric perspective shifting block puzzling game. It's of some interest, so I'll put it on the follow list. $6.29 discounted, English only. From a developer I've never heard of, so I imagine this is the only game they've put on Steam. But every now and then you get a good game that is not from a new publisher. But often you get bad games too, like SCP Resonance. I'm a little surprised that there isn't more of this happening. But also look here. This does not say Resonance at all. This is spelling something else. After the game Control came out, and it was clearly just stealing the concept from the community blog of SCP, Secure, Control, Protect, or whatever that stands for. I'm surprised more people didn't try to make low effort games around that concept and just maybe directly even steal the stories from the SCP website. This is almost certainly a Russian troll game now. English early access, free to play. Russian, no, English not supported. So yeah, this looks like, I don't even know if you call this a Russian troll game if they don't bother to even put it in English. This may just be a low-effort Russian visual novel for the Russian audience themselves. Meanwhile, like, even though I didn't enjoy Control, they took the SCP concept and actually made a game around it instead of just making a low-effort visual novel. Next, Dicey Dungeons, I don't believe is new. It's been out since 3rd August, but it does have a update for Halloween. So, I'm going to put that on the follow list. I'm a little surprised it's not on my wish list. What probably happened here for this very positively reviewed games is either I overlooked it or I saw something that didn't interest me, but I don't see anything here that's so bad I wouldn't be interested in it. So I'm just gonna put this on the wish list right now. Is it a multiplayer only game? No, it's a single player only game. So yeah, that is something that there's a hidden gem. We don't have a lot of hidden gems that we run across. Next we have a game called Not a Prank. This is probably a low effort horror game, Russian troll game with killer clowns running around. I don't think personally I'd be interested in playing a first person shooter where I'm shooting killer clowns. Not because I have any fear of killer clowns or creepy clowns like that. It's the exact opposite. I have no reaction to them at all. They don't scare me or have any relation. Like, I don't think I've ever really dealt with a clown, maybe once or twice in my entire life, and really couldn't care less about them. $3.99 discounted, English only. Yeah, nothing here to interest me, mostly because it's dark screenshot syndrome. Let's see. Next we have another game tagged nudity as far as visual novels, so let me just double check that this is YouTube family friendly. Yeah, it's close enough. Next we have Sakura Fox Adventure from Winged Cloud as part of the Winged Cloud bundle, which I don't believe is all Sakura games, or I guess maybe it is. So the Sakura games, as a reminder, not the greatest games as far as trying to sell on lewdness in anime stuff, but not terrible either. So English and Chinese are the languages, which probably tells you it's not that good of a visual novel. But I'll put it on the follow list and we'll see. A lot of times these Sakura games I think are pretty short also. So you run into a visual novel that has like 5,000 words in it instead of the 30,000 that you're probably are looking for, and very few paths or no diverging paths at all. Next we have a game on Steam called The Maze of Horror, which seems to be all red like a Virtual Boy game. No, not quite, but yeah. I cannot really see through most of these screenshots, but just to me it looks like it's probably a low effort maze game, maybe a troll game. $4.19, English only. And then we only have one more to talk about. We have a game here called Cursed Roots, which looks like it's an old school point and click adventure game, like Alone in the Dark is not a point and click adventure game. But this came out in 2019, so I don't know why I'd want to play this. And if this is a re-release of an old game, it doesn't have relevancy because I don't remember it. It says it's featuring retro-inspired art, which is to say they couldn't animate anything. $6.79, English only. Yeah, I have no interest in this. Yeah, I want new games to actually play and look like new games. I don't want them to be inspired by old games that were ugly. and should be improved themselves. Right, so here's the Day of the Devs bundle at the Humble Bundle store. If you pay $1, you get Frog Detective and Art School. Frog Detective might be Frog Fractions too. I don't think so. If you pay more than the average, you get $4, which right now is $4.51. You get Flipping Death and Battle Chef Brigade. I already have that game, so I'd be paying almost $5 for one game, which is not a good deal. If you pay $9, you get the VIP ticket to Day of the Devs, which I think is just allowing you to live stream it, and Minute, which I already own, and Toe Jam and Earl Back in the Groove, which might be the only game there that I don't own, but then I'd be paying $9 for that, so that's not a good deal for me. And then that brings me back to my Twitter feed, and we can just briefly look at the news. According to Gamma Sutra, the PS4 has become the second best-selling home console of all time, with, I assume, the PlayStation 2 being the first best, or the Wii being the first best. That's an interesting question. Did probably surpassed the PlayStation 2, but hardware sales are slowing, and no surprise there, frankly. Remnants from the Ashes sells 1 million copies just over 2 months. I would like to play that game. Let's see. There's another giveaway for an Xbox Elite Wireless Controller Series 2. I'll enter that again. The first Switch game was approved for launch in China. That is the new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. According to the picture, at least, that I'm seeing. There's a Humble Learn and Play AR game bundle, dev bundle. I didn't look at, apparently. I didn't look at all the bundles. But let's see. Call of Duty Modern Warfare saw over 600 million in revenue in 3 days, so a lot of people are still buying it. PAX Nova leaves early access in early 2020. I'm just reading these titles so I don't have to open them in the next for the next stream on Friday. The YouTube Mr. Beast effort to plant trees is getting retweeted by Susan Wojcicki. They finally found, I think, something they can do that isn't just a SJW thing that people are going to be upset with. Nobody legitimately can argue about planting more trees, even if you don't believe in global warming or anything. Nobody's going to legitimately make that there's a overabundance of trees out there, particularly in the middle of fires. So I hope Susan Wojcicki and YouTube in general and Google in general sees that and goes, oh yeah, this worked. Let's do this every year. Let's make this our main focus. That way we don't have to run into controversies when we start promoting black YouTube producers over every other minority or majority of YouTube producers, or when we start promoting LGBTQ YouTube content producers and then demonetizing most of their videos. So from October 24th to November 1st, the Brawl event continues. I thought this Brawl event was already gonna done too, so it seems like they extended it. Interesting. Planting trees also doesn't get into a level of extreme environmentalism either, that you could get into if you're pushing people to get rid of their cars to save the atmosphere, or actively pick up trash off beaches. Those are things that are a little bit more difficult to do, and frankly are not very efficient uses of people's time. You can clean up a beach, and that's great for that one beach for a brief time, but there's still a ton of trash in the ocean, and we need governments interactions. We need maritime law to go into force to get people to stop dumping trash into the ocean or stop driving hugely inefficient boats. Alright, let's see. Yeah, that seems like that's all the news that Twitter has for me. Again, what's on Steam? Because of the back end of YouTube not really working, probably is not announcing a bunch of games that came out. But that's fine because we spent the extra time doing other things. So that's going to be it for the stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.